Hello and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy episode 587 for the week of, I think it's still May 14th, Sunday, May 14th, 2023. Happy Mother's Day. My name is Ryan Higgins. Who's here this week?
Brock Sager. Oh, I'm sorry. And Brock Sager.
And Brock. Toby is in LA for his, I think he should still be in LA for his music video.
Yeah, I followed his thing on Instagram.
Yeah. Toby's going to start doing some, started up his new, production company for his video stuff. So that's super cool. So, Toby, one of the busiest people I know, is now going to be even more busy. Kevin's off today. Usually on Sundays, there are some Sundays he can't do. So, just me and Brock holding down the fort today. That's okay. I got a couple news stories.
It's a throwback show.
Yeah. Got a couple news stories from the last few weeks
let's knock these out.
Talk about before we get out of here. But I do want to apologize in advance if I'm like blowing my nose and sneezing through like half this podcast. Holy shit, allergies are no joke this year.
California super bloom, man. Watching people suffer through that, I feel bad for you. But it's amazing to watch.
I've been dying. I
watched my ex-brother-in-law just like, whoosh. I was like, dude. He's like, yeah, it's bad. I was like, dang.
Yeah, it is. It's I mean, I've had sinus problems my whole life, but holy boy, the intense rain we've got this year, and now the pretty warm weather has caused California's plants to go absolutely crazy, and everyone is dying from allergies. So, all right, so I'll see if I can get through this episode without blowing my nose 15 times. Bunch of comic. It's all comic. It's like all comic news this week.
It happens, man.
TV stuff. Yeah. I mean, we had Guardians talk, right, and this is just not.
The big comic book talk we'll save for the end, though.
What's the big one?
The big one. It's the big one. I'll let you know. It's big.
Well, I'm going to do this.
It's big comic book news. I will let you know.
Okay, I'm going to do this in the order that I have stuff here. We'll get to that when we get to it.
Keep going in that order. Trust me.
Okay. First of all, we do have to say congratulations to Jim Lee, who is now taking on triple duty, not only as a publisher of DC Comics, CCO of DC, the Chief Creative Officer, but also now president of DC. So he has added a third badge to his impressive resume.
You can't really fault the guy, but I mean, this past weekend he was posting pics of him and video of him flying in a private jet. So I'm like, way to go.
At this point, pretty much now one of the head people at Warner Brothers. Not that he wasn't before, but a Hollywood Reporter article says, still continue to report to Pam Lifford, who's president of Global Brands, Franchises, and Experiences at Warner Brothers Discovery, and I'm pretty sure she's like second in line. So, there's publisher of DC Comics means he's in charge of the overall sort of like view and guiding principle of DC, although Editor-in-Chief definitely deals with most of that. He, for Chief Creative Officer, that is kind of being in control of the brands across all media, all platforms, so not just publishing. And now President is, now he's involved in every single level of DC across every comics, movies, television, games, everything.
Discovery.
Yeah. So big step up. Not sure what the next I feel like someone's got to get the publisher position. I just kind of feel like that will go to someone else at some point. Yeah. When you're, I think it's hard to do all three. Those are generally three separate positions. So the fact that he's doing all three, they're either stocking everything on him, or he's probably grooming someone to be
not the best
publisher,
word to use, but
that's what it's called.
He's somebody's apprenticing under him for the positionings.
Marie Javin's still editor-in-chief of DC Comics. They could move her up to publisher if they move someone else up to EIC, or she could take on the because Jim and Dan Didio were the co-publishers,
Yes.
and Dan was editor-in-chief. So it's possible that she could become editor-in-chief and publisher, and just kind of drive the whole ship for the comic end. But yeah, interesting news, and yeah, but for the people that thought there was definitely some conversation among the scummier parts of the internet that I try to avoid as much as possible, where they were like, "Oh, Jim Lee's going to get fired." Look how the state of DC, Jim Lee's going to get fired, or they make him president. It can go either way.
You don't shoot yourself in the foot by firing one of the most, impactful people in the industry currently, and has been for the past 30 years, 40 years.
Yeah, both on a creator end and an editorial end, and creator end and an executive end. Yeah,
Jim Lee still sells books. Like, the man throws a cover on a book, it sells.
Yeah, the Titans cover is this week, and we ordered. It's a site, other than the main cover, right? It's second highest ordered cover we ordered that book. So yeah, and the fact that he's still doing art on top of all this is just insane. But yeah, that's great.
But it's again, I think it's Jim is falling under the category that like Stan is under. That like Joe Quesada, like all of the Kirby, like he's falling into one of those just high echelon comic book people, period, right? Like,
he could have retired 2 promotions ago and still be one of the most important comics in the history, or most important people in the history of comics. At this point, it's very much solidifying that legacy. So yeah, there's very little.
And he's very humble.
Very little, very, very well, and he still does cons, he still does signings, he still does all that stuff. So yeah, very few places.
Him and his wife still do that sneaking around the con floor and putting shit in people's bags. Like,
maybe I don't know if he's done it the last couple of years, but as of a few years ago, he still was. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Yeah, busy guy. I don't know how much he's going to be doing that going forward, but we'll see.
Yep.
A couple. I'm just gonna go through this in the order once the stuff was announced, so we will jump around through the episode. But DC had a couple of really big announcements for new comics coming out this week. As they've been in there, we are now officially in the dawn of DC, where they have a bunch of new series and legacy characters kind of coming back that haven't had books for a while. And it is of no surprise to anyone listening to this podcast. I'm a big fan of Jeff Johns and the Justice Society that he's been bringing back. And last issue of Stargirl just came out fantastic too. I really liked it. I really like that series. If you haven't read it, final issue came out this week. Just really fun. But this past week we got news that not 1, not 2, but 3 DC characters from the Justice Society are getting their own miniseries. We'll see where it goes past this, but we are getting Alan Scott, the Green Lantern. So this will be his first actual like solo miniseries or solo series since the 30s or early 40s.
Because Earth 2 doesn't really count.
No, there's since his original series, there's been no book called Green Lantern that was an Alan Scott focused solo book. There was one prestige format book in the early-ish, mid-ish 90s.
Yeah.
But that's as close as we've got. That I think it was called Brightest Day or something. That there hasn't been an actual like series, multiple issue series featuring Alan Scott as the main character in many years. Tim Sheridan and Cian Tormey doing the art. Jay Garrick, the Flash. So we're going to get solo Jay Garrick series by Jeremy Adams and Diego Ulartigo. Probably mispronounced.
I have not yet jumped on the Jeremy Adams bandwagon. I need to get caught up with it.
His run on Flash is fantastic. So this is very good, and based off the ending of Stargirl, this seems like a book right up Jeremy Adams' run based on what he's been doing in the current Flash series with Wally. So this is really looking forward to that Jay Garrick series. And one, I had a little. I do want to have a conversation about this. Wesley Dodds, the Sandman. So Again, we had some in Mystery Theater, so there, Wesley Dodds has had his own series much more recently than most of these characters, which just came out in a nice compendium format by Rob Venditti and Riley Rossmo. Now, the reason I want to have a specific conversation about this is it actually does relate to another major topic on social media for the last few weeks, or the last few days, which is about just like the different art and artists and what people are sort of expecting. I think is a good way to put it when you're talking like commercial art and just art for a regular series. If you have seen the Frank Miller variant covers he is putting out for Marvel for Wolverine and Blade and Moon Knight, and there's a bunch of these covers that Marvel just announced, which the internet has, many parts of the internet have ripped to shreds as being just absolutely horrible, right? And I mean, anyone that's followed Frank Miller for the last 20 years has seen his art change dramatically since Dark Knight Strikes Again, the second Dark Knight series he did in the early 2000s. And I think it's tough because there's no art's art. It's subjective, right? It's not good or bad. Art is what it is, and people can like it or not like it. But I think when you have art on a comic, like a product that you're selling, there's sort of an expectation, I think, for certain styles. And it's not always, doesn't always have to be the case, but you kind of have to wonder sometimes, like, is this the right place for this? Is this the right person for this? Riley Rossmo is a really talented artist, but I feel like DC regularly puts him on books that are just not.
He was the one that was on Harley Quinn, right?
Yeah, and Harley works.
It takes some getting used to, but it works.
Yeah, I was Harley is fine.
He did that Legion book, didn't he?
He did the Legion book with Bendis. He did the current Tim Drake stuff. He's now doing this Wesley Dodds series, and it was sort of what I said about Frank Miller. It sort of does apply. Same with Riley Rossmo too. I have kind of similar feelings. It's not that the art is bad; it's that it doesn't fit the things they're on.
It takes away or makes it very uncomfortable. Like, it makes it awkward when, like, you go, okay, is this pairing going to work? Right.
Yeah. There are just expectations and styles that click in American comics, right? So with the Frank Miller books, what the kind of thing I said on Twitter was, with these covers, it's from like a cartooning point of view, it's very interesting. And if these were in art books or, like an outsider art gallery for Marvel Comics, like, I think this would work. But as a variant cover for a Wolverine miniseries that's going to the direct market, this is not the place for it. It just doesn't, the style doesn't fit what the audience generally wants. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing to try to expand to get other people in, but I feel like the people that would like his art on this aren't going to buy this book. The people that will buy this book won't like his art. So you're in a funky position where I appreciate the attempt to expand the reader's views, but I don't think it's going to work for anyone. I think it's the wrong book it's the wrong art on the wrong project. Mm-hmm. And Riley Rossmo, I have the same feeling with. It's not a personal thing at all. I just think DC continuously puts him on the wrong books. Now, what is the right book? I don't really know. I think like Harley Quinn's a good book for him. I think he's better on specials and various one-offs and things that fit the very cartoony style he has. It doesn't work as well on a more traditional superhero book. Now, people can disagree with me. That's fine. But I think it goes pretty against the grain of what a lot of people want. Now you have artists like, Bill Sienkiewicz, one of my absolute favorites, right? Who famously comes into New Mutants with a completely different art style. But if you read those books, the art sort of fits the tone of the Demon Bear Saga and Legion and all that characters. I was actually looking at this because we got to run New Mutants in this past week, and there's a Bob McLeod, I think, is the artist, right? That does early stuff, very traditional superhero stuff. Bill Sienkiewicz comes in. And then obviously at the end of the series is Rob Liefeld. Like, you could not have three more amazingly different artists doing incredibly different work. But
wasn't Art Adams in the middle too?
Non-New Mutants? I don't think so. No, maybe covers or something. Yeah, but he didn't do any. He didn't do any. He didn't. I forget who did in between Sienkiewicz. I got kind of a bunch of people do. I don't remember who's in the middle. Yeah, but it wasn't. I don't think it was Art Adams. But all three of those artists, I feel the art fits the tone of the story because they sort of catered the story to the artist. I don't know if that's the case with. Oh, well, I guess I won't know until we read the book, obviously. But I feel like most Riley Rossmo stuff is not. The story is not catered to him, the artist, and that does a disservice to the artist. It does a disservice to the readers because I think they're getting art that doesn't fit the story.
On it?
On Sandman?
Yeah.
Rob Vendetti. So, which was great.
Yeah.
Vendetti's done really good stuff.
The second you said Vendetti, I thought Brian Hitch. I was like, okay, it's good. Like, we're going to get this.
Well, and Wesley Dodds. Yeah, you have Sandman and Sandman Mystery Theater and multiple appearances and other things, and the style, I think, expected by the audience. Now, again, you can go against expectations. That's fine. But commercial art, you got to kind of figure, what is the person picking up this book? What are they expecting? The Frank Miller covers, similar idea.
So I have an example from something I really love.
What's that?
So I really love Day Tripper by Fabio Moon and Gabriel Va. That book is amazing. I tried to read their, what was it, Casanova books.
Yeah.
I can't. I can't. It's the art, the writing, like it just does not click. And so, but I've read other stuff of theirs and I've really enjoyed it. And it just, I really think it just depends on the story you're trying to tell.
Oh, yeah.
And is that art style going to fit? I remember Guardians of the Galaxy, the last one by Ambient Landing. They had a great artist throughout most of it. And then all of a sudden they had this cartoonish one come in towards the end and did 2 issues. And I was like, what the heck am I reading?
Yeah, it's going to happen. I get it. But when the case of Rossmo, the story, it's a miniseries, so it's all for him. This doesn't feel like the right fit. No, prove me wrong, right? Maybe it'll be great.
Now, honestly, who I could see him with is, oh God, who's the boxer?
You want to give him a Plastic Man? For which one?
Plastic Man. But I'm saying Justice Society character. It's the boxing cat guy. Why am I blanking?
Wildcat.
Wildcat. That's it. I could see because the thing is in Harley, there's a lot of punching and all of this actiony stuff, and it would fit. It fits in Harley once you get used to it, and I think it would fit with that Wildcat's character and the kind of the action that you're going for. But something with Sandman, especially the Wesley Dodds, I don't know.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I think there are books that would totally fit. I think some space stuff because you get these very you let him run wild with these crazy characters with all these weird contorted bodies and weird extended legs and no feet and all this bizarre what he does well. Put him on Plastic Man? Hell yeah. Totally. Perfect artist for something like Plastic Man. Sandman Mystery Theater, it's just not the right fit. And with these Frank Miller covers, it's the same thing. I don't think the people coming into the store want this. This isn't Dark Knight. This isn't. Well, we had the same thing with Neil Adams when he was doing those random covers for Green Arrow and a couple other, Batman. He did a couple of those. Oh yeah. Well, and Neil Adams stuff. I think there's a little bit of a difference. Miller's style changed so dramatically. I guess not really if you kind of really look at it over time, but it is very different. Neil Adams and George Perez, a lot of that is just, the quality and John Byrne and guys like that. It's just the quality degraded over time, and that's pretty common. And that's hard to avoid. I may not like it, but I still understand that this is Neil Adams, right? Yeah. And I think the art on those books, again, good or bad, or whatever you like it or not, whatever.
I think it was. I wasn't a big fan of it, but I think they put it on books that he was associated with, right? It wasn't. They were throwing him on some random.
And he's doing Batman variant covers, and he did his own Batman book, and it's like whatever. It's if you still like him, it's fine. You can pick up his work; it's there. But yeah, it wasn't the book. Were not. I mean, they were created for him, but it wasn't like they were just putting him on random stuff. And yeah, so. But I'm very excited we're getting a Wesley Dodd series. But
but the hiccup.
Yeah. So look, JSA, I'm frustrated by the release schedule. It's been extremely late. But I'm very happy that they're getting.
There's a release schedule.
Sure, I mean, it comes out every couple of months. But we're going to get an expansion of the JSA. I'm a big JSA fan, so very much, very, very happy for that. I do want to talk briefly because this is local, so local news, but still comic book news. I think it's worth talking about. The Bay Area Silicon, unrelated to the other convention called Silicon. This is the Silicon, formerly Silicon Comic-Con, formerly Big Wow, formerly something else, which was a comic book convention, but actually not a comic book convention at all. After multiple years, finally is closed. And they have pulled out of their 2023 convention after backing fell through. I have literally, I never went. I heard because it didn't look like a good convention. It looked like some people bought it and thought we can make this big celebrity con.
Well, it was. And they bought it around the time like the Heroes and Villains conventions were going on, and all of this like other stuff where they're like, oh, we could buy this one out and just utilize their name and just go with something.
Yeah. So Silicon Comic Con became Silicon, and it just, they have like scientists and people from NASA and Adam Savage and then like Mythbusters, and then a couple comic people randomly. I think like Gail Simone was there last year maybe, but like that was it. And like, it's not a comic convention. It's like this other thing, but I never heard a good thing. Everyone I know that went said it was horrible lines, horrible experience, nothing to do, no vendors. Like, it's cool if you want to spend like Arnold Schwarzenegger was there. What was that? 2019 maybe. Yeah. If you want to pay like $600 for a photo op with like people, but like there's a ton of those conventions. So weird comic, not Comic Con got axed in the Bay Area, but it is such an odd con. Again, I know a lot of people have gone and just nobody liked it. So I'm not surprised. I'm sure attendance was not great.
What's hilarious is once Big Wow left, 12 years ago now, like that was Big Wow. I wasn't that long ago. The last Big Wow? No, not Big Wow. I'm talking. Sorry, WonderCon. The last
WonderCon.
The last WonderCon was 12 years ago, and that was the last kind of really solid Bay Area comic book convention. I mean, we have the other ones scattered on the East Bay, but they're not as like popular or pull the crowds that.
No, we've had Big Wow, and they tried to kind of have some of them like hotel shows down here, but they just haven't been the same. There's the Berkeley Con, which is all comics. It's small, but it's really popular. But again, it's not anything that's like a big convention. Shortbox just did their con at the Santa Clara Convention Center that I heard very mixed things about. It was like kind of a very small, high end con. It wasn't just like a come with the family and kids and hang out and buy some Pokemon cards. Like, it wasn't that. It was like something else differently. What was the one in San Francisco? Fan Expo. So Fan Expo is the closest.
Was decent. I mean, it's a very odd weekend to have it, which is Thanksgiving.
Right, and that's what I mean. It's not WonderCon, But if Fan Expo can grow year on year, I have a little bit more hope for that. But it's a good. I mean, if you're like New York and San Diego is up here, WonderCon's a step down.
Well, WonderCon, Emerald City, right? Like you have.
Yeah, this was a step down from that. And then there's the local hotel con. So this is sort of that third tier. It's not if they can jump to the second tier, if they can become 50,000, 60,000 people, 3 weekends, sellout days, very cool. Take over the convention center.
Sorry,
that's what
you meant 3 days, not 3 weekends.
3 days. 3 days. Sell out multiple days, within their days. Yeah, because they just didn't. It just wasn't as big. But we'll see. We'll see what year two. We'll see if it grows. If it shrinks, if it goes down, it's bad. Because it's on like Thanksgiving weekend, bad weekend, really bad weekend.
Well, but
I'm sure it was the only weekend they could get.
Yeah, so. But it's one of those. It's one of those double-edged sword weekends, I think, because again, it was only 2 days, so you've normally done all your shopping and all your family stuff. So it does give you something to do, kind of, to fill that time, right? That in like, oh, we'll go up to Fan Expo for a day, right? Like, it does give you that kind of window, but I think it also kind of limits. I think one of the biggest complaints I was hearing when on the sales floor on Sunday was just people weren't really spending money. And I think that's due to the fact that it's on the weekend where most money is spent on that Friday. Right.
Yeah. No, it's, yeah, I mean, there's some big cons that are still doing really, really well, kind of post-COVID. So it'll be interesting to see if they can actually get this, if they can get this working. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we'll see. This was a thing from Free Comic Day, a story that kind of broke as we were going through Free Comic Day. Bleeding Cool post about it. But I did want a little info out there in case people didn't know what happened or wanted to know what if they didn't hear the deal with this, what this is. So randomly on, I think Monday or Tuesday.
It was Tuesday.
We received a package at the store with some promotional material for Spider-Man 2. It was a comic made by Marvel and Sony for the upcoming, as like a promotional comic to tie in with the new Spider-Man game. Cool. I thought, whatever. Took it out, took them out of the box, put them on the shelf. Just give away along with 1,000 other things we get. We got like maybe 100 copies.
Yeah, they sent some, like, it's enough for us to have a decent stack on the counter.
Yeah. We got like 2 boxes of them. So whatever. Normal, whatever. We gave them out Wednesday, gave them out Thursday. There was a stack of them, give away to random customers that was walking in. Randomly, like Thursday afternoon or Friday morning or something like that, there's an announcement. I only saw this because, of course, I saw it on social media. There was no email. There was no message from Diamond. There was no anything. There was an announcement that, hey, there's a Spider-Man 2 comic coming out for Free Comic Book Day. It's going to be in stores for Free Comic Day. And I'm like, huh? I'm like, another, like, they're sending us something? Like, I didn't order this. Like, what is this? And I'm like, oh, no, this is the book this is like the promo book we got the other day. Well, okay. I mean, there was no instructions. There's no instructions.
It didn't have any of the dress for Free Comic Book Day that Free Comic Book Day books have, where it's green for all ages, blue for teen, red for mature. It didn't have any space for a sticker or whatever. Yeah.
So we, we just had it out on the shelf, like on at the store. I never did anything with it. We never put it out for Free Comic Day. And like as the day went on Free Comic Day, we started like more and more people started coming and looking for it. And by about midday, we had given out the last one.
Oh God, it was so annoying.
But then, we did get like calls and people coming and looking for it and stuff. So, and prices obviously have come down, but it is like still like $20 on eBay now.
Mm-hmm. I got people on Monday when I was breaking Marshall.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So no, Sunday. I got people all day Sunday.
I think, I don't know. Like, I think this might be the first appearance. Is this the first appearance of Miles Morales in like the Spider-Man game universe, like a printed comic? I don't actually know. I don't know if people wanted it because it just was a weird thing and FOMO, but yeah, I was like, why? Like, okay, cool. They gave us a free bummer book, whatever. We get this shit all the time. It's just weird that
they had a Gamerverse comic when Spider-Man came out, and I was like, they're doing another one.
Yeah.
They're doing another one for Spider-Man 2. Okay,
yeah.
I mean, nobody cared, but
yeah. But it's weird. Like, so if you were like looking for this or got it, or if you didn't know why stores didn't have like thousands of them, like they probably did a lot of other free comic day books. That's why, because we didn't order it. We just got a random thing, and many stores probably
just held.
Who even knows what they did with it? There was like promo, throw it in the bin, and whatever. Oh, throw it in the back room. We'll deal with this later.
Or one guy forgot about it, and he's been selling them for $20 on eBay all week.
So yeah, weird thing. But I thought that was worth mentioning, just because.
It just goes to show that the video game people don't know how to utilize comic books and make them.
Well, this was the problem with the Batman Fortnite comic, right? The mistake here is that, like, you can't just announce, oh, there's a thing in the store today. We've had to deal with this for a month at this point. So,
and that one we had to deal with like a month and a half, 2 months out, because it had the codes and all that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, when DC announced they were doing a Batman Fortnite comic, people went, that's cool. When Epic announced that they were doing a Batman Fortnite comic, people fucking lost their minds because they're like, oh yeah, it comes out tomorrow. It's like, what? Like, because people that played Fortnite didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you guys got to figure this shit out. You can't do this. Like, you gotta give us way more notice. And you gotta actually properly label your stuff and tell us what stuff's for. Like, there was nothing. If there was something in the box that was like, hey, this is a special thing for Free Comic Day, blah, blah, blah. Well, there was nothing. It was just these boxes of these books. And I'm like, oh, okay, throw them on the shelf. Super bizarre.
An email?
Funny because we actually did get one. I know we got another one from Marvel fairly recently. It was an M&M comic, like the candy.
Yeah.
It was like and this actually came with a letter that was like, hey, this is a promotional comic for Marvel. We're sending them to X amount of stores. We recommend giving them out to customers, using it as like a promotional offer if they buy stuff. It's just a marketing thing that we're doing. Blah blah blah. Came a whole note. I was like, excellent. Put them on the shelf. People took them, gave them out. Mm-hmm. Awesome. This was just like, this shit just showed up, and I have no idea what's going on.
Well, it showed up right when the trailer dropped for Spider-Man 2.
For the game?
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
I think I think the game trailer dropped literally that, like, earlier in the week. And I was like, so when I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, I just watched the trailer for, like, my roommate watched the trailer. I haven't watched it yet, but like it dropped like over the weekend. I was like, okay, they're releasing this with the trailer.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Weird. Yep. I don't know what the deal is, but what are you gonna do?
I mean, I guess you can scream to your blue in the face, like, hey, hello, but
no, they don't care. Yeah, I don't care. A couple more news stories. We got we talked about DSTLRY a little bit the last few weeks, which is new. Just the new
just going with whatever I felt like.
Creator-owned, ex-Comixology creator-owned comic company with very strong digital bits attached to their overall market.
Is that what we're calling NTS now? Digital bits?
Sure. Unrelated to Digital Bits, the very good DVD website. But we do finally know that DSTLRY is going to be exclusive with Diamond Comics for print distribution. So for those that were maybe worried about how they were going to get these books, they will be available in print through Diamond, and so through most comic stores.
Penguin Random House.
Yeah. Which I'm surprised that it's exclusive with Diamond. I feel like, good on Diamond for trying to lock people in. They need to do it, but yeah,
bidder.
the digital end of Distillery, I think, is the big story. The physical books, hey, if they're good, they're good. Cool, excellent. Some more Scott Snyder and Tula Lote and James Tynion, all sounds great.
Yep.
But what are they going to do to distinguish themselves in the direct market, in the print market? Big names are cool, but the book's got to deliver. There's got to be there's going to be something more than just kind of we're putting this in the market and see what happens.
Yeah.
A lot of big names. It's a lot of money. We'll see what the results are. So I mean, so far, like, kind of think, like the sales on the like the Snyder stuff through Dark Horses maybe a little lower than what I would have maybe expected had they been from Image, but I think it's about the same.
Well, I think it's with Snyder. It's right. I think his stuff he did with Greg Capullo, the We Have Demons, right? That book I think did
very well for us.
Very well, because it's, again, a solid creative team people have seen since Batman and like so yeah, okay. His was it the fire one, Dark something, I can't.
Yeah, Dark Spaces. And that's kind of like an anthology, and other people are going to be.
No, it's not an anthology.
Well, there's other people are going to be doing the new one. There's a new one that he's not doing.
Okay, but like the Dark Spaces, whatever the fire one, it was interesting, but it's like, how many people are going to jump on a random, Scott Snyder in creator owned thing about a group of criminal firefighters, right?
I mean, that's the whole thing, right? It's there's so many different books out there, and they'll all hit their different markets, and whether it's IDW or Dark Horse or Image or Distillery, is there a big difference? It's about the promotion of the book by the companies, but the promotion of the book by the creator. I mean, I applaud all these creators for going out and trying to get not only the best deal, but maybe you don't want to attach yourself to one ship. You don't know what's going to happen, so just go out there and
But like things like Severed never really hit from Scott Snyder, right? It's not bad. It just never really hit. Witches was good, but I think it came at it came at a really odd time, right? Mm-hmm. Like, now there's kind of buzz because isn't there like a TV show thing that they're going to do with it, right?
Series, so, Is it animated? Well, nothing right now because of the writer's strike, but yes, animated series coming to Amazon eventually, hopefully.
But you have some stuff that just doesn't hit, like his Night of the Ghoul. I liked it, right? But I could definitely see where people are not like, But like I hear the Barnstormers.
Yeah, Barnstormers with Tula Lote. Right. Well, that's what I mean, right? So I'm not talking about any of the individual titles. What I'm talking about here is what are the companies going to do to differentiate themselves from what Dark Horse is doing, what Image is doing? How does Distillery can they push any of these creators to drop the other companies and stick with them? Is the digital end more important and going to make them more money in the long run? Is the physical printing better? Is their publicity better? Because, I think at this point, if any creator just went to Image and was like, let's do this, like they'll take any of the big guys, right?
Yeah.
Dark Horse was suffering pretty hard, I would imagine, post losing a bunch of their licenses. IDW, same thing, which we now know because of all the layoffs. So I'm sure they pushed hard to lock in some of these people on deals to create exclusive content for them, which is great. Yeah. But now there's another party doing the same thing. Uh-huh. It's the same group of people. How many of these are there? How stretched out are these people? It's a lot of books, and is there an audience for all of them? And so, what is Distillery going to do? I mean, again, cool. We got Print Through Diamond. That's great, but you need more than that. You can't just put the book out there. You got to do something. There's going to be a pull for it. There's going to be.
I can't wait to hear people complain that their digital comic book has been traded more than 3 times. It must mean the quality is lower than a 9.8 in the digital sphere or some shit like that.
I don't know. I can't run any of that garbage. We'll see. Again, we'll see when the books start coming. They've, it's great to make plans. It's one thing when you're 18 months in and you're putting out your 4th series and you got to figure out sales. Like, good launch is good, but you got to Comics are momentum. It's not just a one and done. You got to keep these things going. If you're trying to build a company and build a line and a brand.
Well, and the funny thing is there's so many examples of just the crash and burn, right? Throughout comic book, the industry with, these independent companies that kind of come up and, talk this big talk and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it's different because in the past, in the 70s and 80s, you had a lot of companies come in, but now there's the IP, now there's the brand, now there's the merchant, more merchandise.
Well, the most recent crash and burn was Valiant, right? Like they had a solid momentum coming out of that kind of, was it 2012?
Well, what's the focus? The focus on Valiant was not the comics, right? The focus by the parent company,
it shifted, right? Like.
No. It was always that. No, the focus of the parent company was always to make movies and TV shows out of this shit. They saw the MCU
stuff was really good. Like it was solid.
Yeah, and then because they had money from a giant corporation. It was like I forget the parent company of Valiant. It's some Chinese movie company, and they were like, "Yep, we're going to throw all this money, so make a bunch of good stuff, and we're going to turn them all into movies." And then nothing happened, and then Bloodshot, and they made like some web stuff, and that movie that came out right when COVID hit, when COVID shut down America. So good timing there. Probably one of the worst time releases ever. It's a shell of itself. And, Oni, same thing, right? IDW, maybe the same thing. Dark Horse seems okay. Image seems okay.
I think Dark Horse just carried because Dark Horse had, it has Hellboy. It has,
Dark Horse and Image were comic book companies for decades. Let's say decades. Two decades for Dark Horse, 1 decade for Image before this stuff became much more significant. When you get into the 2000s, things kind of changed a little bit. But Dark Horse is around since the early 80s, mid 80s, Image from the early 90s. So these guys, what was Dark Horse? Like 84, 85 maybe?
Sounds about right.
I'm trying to remember when their first book was.
Wasn't that Dark Horse Presents?
Yeah, Black Cross, Dark Horse Presents. I'm trying to think. They had a couple. I think it was Black Cross, the name.
I don't know. We probably sold it out of Trevor's collection, and I packaged it off to somebody.
So, they obviously were big early in the days with Aliens and Predator and Terminator and everything like that. But there was Dark Horse was trying to push movies out, But now that is the point. The selling of the comics is not enough because these companies have all been bought by big corporations who are looking to cash in on the IP. They want to be the next Marvel. They want to be the next DC. And it's just not going to happen, guys. So, they're trying to make them too big. They're trying to make all this additional stuff happen. And what did I say last week when we were talking about IDW? Why don't you just make good comics and something will eventually happen? Mm-hmm. But other than that,
even Dark Horse's early IPs with Alien, Predator, and Terminator, they were the ones that were getting the licenses for things that Marvel wasn't going to make. Marvel wasn't going to make bloody, gory Alien and Predator books at the time. DC
would have, but that's it. Yeah, DC did some licensing. Marvel did a shitload of licensing in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. They had Star Wars, Star Trek. They had all the Muppet Babies, right? They had all that stuff. So that was prior, but no, Marvel had done a shitload of licensing, and that stopped. They still had some into the 90s, but nowhere. They did some of the Disney stuff. Yeah. And NFL Super Pro and crap like that, but not to the degree that they had when Star Wars and G.I. Joe and all that were going big. A lot of that died off in the 90s. Where Dark Horse still had it, and they still had Star Wars, and they had everything into the 2000s. Mm-hmm. But then once that left, Dark Horse had to sort of readjust itself. But again, I think at the heart, Dark Horse, they are. I forget the name of their parent company, but they are still as Distiller. It's like the Distiller Group, I think it's called. It's not the something group. They own a bunch of shit, but it feels like Dark Horse is still allowed to be a comic book company, and they don't have to worry about that. I think with IDW and Distillery and these other companies, the IP farming is the point, and that to me, it's just not originally with IDW, originally, but it is now. And Distillery, definitely. Yeah.
Well, like Boom came, on that huge kick of just independent stuff.
Boom, our numbers are very down on Boom books. There's not a lot of big hits right now out of Boom. and Image at the same point. I'll give you Image. Other than like Saga, there's not really a big Image book right now. But they are both, I think, at comic book companies first, foremost. Third, fourth, and fifth are comic book companies, and there's other stuff involved at the creator levels. But I don't think Boom is too concerned about the the IP. That is not their primary concern. I still think Boom and Image are comic book companies.
I think Boom really kind of followed Dark Horse's model, right? Because they have Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and Firefly, right? So they have a handful of these IPs that they're pumping out content for, right? But they still focus on trying to give, independent creator comics like, you have Something Is Killing the Children from them. They do try stuff with new creators all the time, right? They're not necessarily farming, but they're just a comic book company making comics, right?
Yep.
I don't know.
I think
it feels like
it. Yeah. Final story before Brock's story, which I don't know about.
It's big comic book news, man. I'm surprised you didn't have it on the list.
I'll add it. Tom King and Daniel
that guy
Sampere,
Tom King
did announce the other day they're working on the upcoming Wonder Woman comic, and there is a more significant piece to this comic coming that we did not know about, and that is that although pure Wonder Woman purists and those very much in the know that this is not the first time, obviously. But in this current continuity, we are finally being introduced to a future character who will also show up in his run, Wonder Woman's daughter, named Trinity. The Trinity, for those wondering, is in relation to the 3 lassos she has: the Golden Perfect, Wonder Woman's lasso, Donna Troy's Silver Lasso, and a mysterious Black Lasso. Don't know where that's from. If someone knows, let me know. I don't think that's been in the comic. So it's good. Trinity's going to first. Lizzie, I believe is her name, named after Elizabeth Martin.
Take a minute, breathe.
Yeah, I'm blanking on his name.
Don't know how to say names, and just try and say
it. William Moulton Marston, the creator of Wonder Woman, his wife Elizabeth, I believe is Elizabeth. Lizzie's her name. So, named after the Wonder Woman creator.
Now, the better question
is, who had based Wonder Woman on her originally. So,
now the better question is: have you, as a comic book store owner, been given enough time to bump your orders just ever so slightly for the which is going to be the first appearance of Lizzie Trinity?
Wonder Woman 800 has not been on FOC, so I have plenty of time.
Yeah,
plenty of time.
Yeah. Wait, a way to actually advertise this shit to comic book stores.
Yeah.
Wonder. Yeah. It's a miracle.
Tom King did talk quite a bit about multiple interviews about having Damian and John Kent kind of being sort of bigger brothers, right? So those characters' introduction kind of sets us this new level at DC of characters and their extreme popularity, and so they're let's give them a little sister and let's get not biologically, but you know what I mean, right? The new Trinity, right? So yeah, it's a cool character, cool design. I hope she sticks around. Seems fun. There's been there's obviously been the last couple of years a pretty big expansion in the DC universe. We've had a lot of kids coming, so it has been done wrong in the past. We'll see. I feel like
there a DC thing where they did a future story with all of their kids recently?
Sure.
I can't remember what it was.
Future State and all the 5G
was it
stuff.
Future State?
Yeah. And so, I feel like Future State, boy, just they were going down a path, but just they didn't get there, and so I don't know what they're going to do with Yara Flor. She's cool, but I feel like they've not abandoned her, but whatever plans they had with her is just gone.
Well, so I've read
Jace Batman is just gone, I think. So it's weird.
Like the Yara Flor stuff, I read Wonder Girl. I think I want to say I finished that stuff, and it was super tight in.
She comes back in Wonder Woman, so I mean, she's
Yeah,
been around,
back,
but
she's back. But I think it's the book itself, like got interrupted a couple of times. Once by I think Trial of the Amazons, and I think another time by.
No, it was canceled. No, the book ended. The book never ended,
got. But she she went from that to Trial to like not really connecting very well.
She went from that to Trial to nothing. Yeah. No, that's what I mean. Like there was clearly a plan that just didn't happen with Yara Flor. So
and I did read the I Am Batman stuff, which is really good. Like the John, like that Ridley run is not bad, but it's like why?
It is significantly better than the lead-in miniseries.
There was two lead-in miniseries.
Yeah, what were they called?
One was like Second Son, and then the other one was just
those were
Next Batman.
Those were not.
It was
good.
Next Batman, and then like Next Batman, Second Son, or something.
Yeah. Those were not good because it wasn't Batman. Like those.
Well, no, they were floundering stories. It was like nothing happened in each one. It was like
right.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the family and how it's having problems, and we're talking about the family and how they're having problems, and I'm literally sitting there going, "Isn't one of you Batwing?"
Yeah, but then they don't. Right, exactly. But then they don't actually do anything. Yeah. And then I Batman was fine. It's just I thought it was okay, but I feel like those characters that are like, we're gonna do this, and then like, oh no, we're not. Never mind. Let's have these other people.
Well, I think Future State was to put it bluntly, not horrible.
No,
but I think it was. No, we're gonna tell you a story that's 10 years out, and we're gonna fill the gap in between. It's like, nah, it would have been better if it was just Future State, and then it was because of some weird thing, and it doesn't happen, and somebody wakes up. Like,
it is this like unrealized alternate reality, right?
Right, like, and that's the thing is this: if you had just left it as an alternate reality, like it's the Age of Apocalypse, like you can come back to Future State, right? Like that would have been something that there was potential for, but they just wanted to pull everything in. They're not going to go back, State. But you know what I'm saying.
It just wasn't anything there.
You know how many times they've come back to Age of Apocalypse?
Yeah, well, it was very popular,
right?
Man, Future State just wasn't much of anything. So,
well, we didn't know if it was Future's End, if it was Future State, right? Like,
well, it's Future State. But Wonder Woman's having a kid, so that should be fun. Obviously, we'll know more about her as time goes on. Brock, you said there's a big story. What's this
big story? It's this huge story. I can't believe you're not going to include it. Which is, meanwhile, a comic shop anthology is finishing up on Kickstarter this week.
Well, I mean, this is how I was going to end the episode. So yes, is that? I mean,
that's the big comic shop news.
I was going to say, is that the big news story of the week?
Big news story of the week.
As of recording, 66 hours to go on Kickstarter. We're just shy of 10 grand on Kickstarter. Wow. It would be very cool if we could break that by Wednesday when this wraps up. 5 p.m. Wednesday, May 17th. Funny enough, the exact time I needed to be at the show, so I go to my Sisters of Mercy concert. So
don't worry, I got it covered.
This is gonna end, and I'm gonna be out the door to go see a concert. So we are in our final days, but do not worry if you do not like Kickstarter or you prefer to get it other ways. We can continue to have it on sale until the release and after the release, unless it gets on some spec website and we sell out of copies immediately on comicsconspiracy.biz. If you have missed our previous episodes or need a refresher what this is an anthology that myself, Kevin Sharp, Brock, Toby, Lane, Leanne, of course, my wife, and a host of amazing creators
from like
have
a huge range of comic book like connection, right? You have pro writers, pro artists, budding writers, budding artists, and you have comic book historian.
yeah. People all over the map.
It's a spectrum.
So this we're wrapping up here, and It will be available at the store. It'll be available for continuously pre-order. And if your store uses Comic Hub, we are also. I mean, but you will not hear this by the time orders are due through your store. But again, they can still order it later, so it's no big deal. We are also kind of the test market for an ordering system. Comic Hub is going to use for things like small press runs, small print runs, first time publishers. Variant covers, things like that in the future, where we can do some cool exclusives through Comic Hub stores, which a couple hundred stores use it. So it's a good little group of people across the country. So you can.
We might even have pre-order a Comic Hub variant on some of those number ones for like DC or Marvel.
We did. There was one Comic Hub exclusive variant early on in Comic Hub days. I don't know if you remember that. I don't remember what book it was for, but it was one of the Marvel ones. Yeah. Oh. It was one of the early things Comic Hub did, but we never came back to it. But this would be the type of thing that this system now would allow for. So, it's very cool project. I'm super happy that everyone involved, and incredibly thankful to all our big, real comic bros that have helped us make this happen. So, meanwhile, a comic shop anthology. Check it out. Again, we got a couple days left. While you were hearing this, we got about 2 days left. If you're hearing this on Monday when this comes up, and so we'll have more new. I will chronicle at least a little bit. How this stuff goes, as far as the printing of and everything, over the course of the next couple episodes, because we're going to submit and do all that stuff. So, if you're any interest in the publishing end of comics, I'll let you know how it goes, because I'm learning all this as well. It's my first time. I do everything else in comics. This is the first time I'm actually on the publishing end, so it's fascinating. And quick reminder. For those, in case you have not heard previous episodes or we've kind of talked about it a little bit, we will be on hiatus through the month of June and maybe the first week of July. I am going to be on vacation as a very delayed anniversary trip that me and Leanne are taking. We were supposed to go in 2020, and that did not happen, obviously. So we're now taking a very extended and delayed vacation. And we are going to Japan for a couple of weeks, and we are going to be out of the country. And because I cannot bear to have a repeat of the now infamous DC Rebirth calamity, the disaster, the worst thing.
Blame me for that.
The worst thing that happened in 2016 was the Comic-spiracy episode of DC Rebirth, hosted by Ryan Scott and Bryce. We are just going to be on hiatus for a month.
I tried
5 weeks.
You've heard that episode. I tried.
I did. I tried. I tried. I stated then and there, I will burn this thing to the ground before I give it away. We hope you continue to leave us in your feed. We will be back. I'll have many things to say when we're back on doing our regular schedule when I return.
I'll still be doing stuff on my YouTube channel and stuff like that.
Check the social medias. Brock. You will have the Twitter account. So Facebook is harder.
I'm not dealing with Facebook.
I was going to say, I wonder if I could actually
just put it under construction up for the page. I'm done. I'm not going to deal with Facebook.
I'll have to figure that out.
Dude, this store might get a TikTok out of this.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No. That I will immediately ban. No, absolutely no TikTok. Yeah. So a couple, okay, 2 more episodes. But then, I'll be off for a few weeks. So, first major vacation.
Hey, maybe we'll feel feisty and record you a special one just to post randomly.
I mean, you can record all you want. Nothing is getting posted without me here. Toby can record everything, and I can record a 12-hour.
If we feel like it, we can record some bonus thing where you can actually just schedule release it with the last one, and then it just randomly dumps.
No.
Okay. I tried, people. I tried.
I don't have time to do anything before I leave.
Tried.
So
you don't have time to do anything before you leave. You leave in 2 weeks.
Yeah. I got 3 concerts between now and then. I don't have time to do anything else. Okay, I have a billion things of work to do, multiple concerts. Fucking crazy. Yeah, I didn't schedule to have like
and don't
every
worry, I
concert
got Wednesday covered. I'll be in at 3.
Excellent. 3, 5.
No, I come in at 3. I break you. I go to the warehouse. You can leave once I get there.
Well, I'm not leaving till 5.
I know. You're not leaving till 5, so I have to put up with you for 2 hours. That's fine. Can't wait for all the Where's Ryan comments. Those are always the best.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Some news this week. No questions. That's all right. We'll deal with them next week if there's any questions. Thank you all.
I have a quick question. Apparently, one of the students I work with says he put a Patreon money in and he's supposed to get a shout out. But I'm like, did you back at the right tier? So I don't know. Is there some
student put a Patreon?
I don't know.
We haven't done the shadow thing in a long time. But I will double check. That should not be there anymore. But I will double check. Yeah, the only thing we do now is the high tier backing, which of course is the Lowdown with Luke and Derek on Spotify and YouTube. Check them out. Joe Duff, Kelsey May, Craig Anderson at the Executive Evolution Podcast, Jimmy Rivera at the Social Forum Podcast, and Talon Bray.
Thank you
all very much for your continued support. Patreon.com/comicconspiracy. You can go over to comicconspiracypodcast.com and Apple Podcasts for all our previous episodes. Go to comicsconspiracy.biz. You can purchase a copy of Meanwhile, a comic shop anthology on there, and that ships in mid-August is the current schedule.
Oh man, I cannot wait. Do you have the number for how many people have backed us on Kickstarter?
I mean, sure, it's on there. You can look.
Oh, fuck.
We'll have more. Conspiratobrock.com, Brock's blog.
Videos,
see his stuff on there. Yep. Charlie's Doctor Who podcast, Wanderers in the Fourth Dimension. And Kevin Sharp's weekly interview series called Between the Panels at fanbasepress.com. You can read his interviews over there, as well as go to leannehill.com and check out my wife's artwork. It's also on etsy.com/shop/leannehillart. And if you're on Twitter, Ryan Higgins Ryan, Brock Sager is Brock Sager, Toby's Toby XI, Charlie is Insanity and Chaos, Kevin is that Kevin Sharp, the store is Comics Con Store. And should have a Geek Box this week where I will not be talking about Tears of the Kingdom because I have not started it yet. I will not be starting Tears of the Kingdom till I return from vacation because I don't have time or want to start it and not be able to play for thousands of hours. So
I'll be done with it.
Leanne has been putting in the thousands of hours. She's played nonstop for like 3 days. Why
don't you just take it with you to Japan?
Because we're going to be doing other stuff that will not be.
But you'll be on planes. You can play it. At least.
I can't play on planes. I have like I must get into like Zen-like status on planes and just like allow time to pass and not
and try not to scream that there's so much space between you and the ground.
I'm bad at flying.
Yeah.
I'm really bad at flyer. And Manga Nation, it's a good friend talking about anime and manga. Go check those guys out. All right, that's it. We'll be back next week. Goodbye.